Hey guys, it's time for another quick tips for luthiers. We all know how important sandpaper is to shape the surface of wood as well as prepare it to receive a finish. But there's another tool that I use all the time that I actually prefer, especially when I get to that final stage of trying to get the surface as smooth as possible. I'm talking about a cabinet scraper. The reason why I like to use cabinet scrapers is because they will give you a surface that is smoother than you can get with sandpaper. There's absolutely no scratches if you use the tool correctly. Now I've got several scrapers that I use. This is just a rectangular scraper, and I also have a couple of curved scrapers that I can use on contoured surfaces. And the trick to using these is to make sure that the edge is prepared properly. And the way that you do that is first you have to draw out a thin strip of metal, and then you curve that strip up so that you have this long hook that runs along the edge here. The way that I sharpen the tool is I just simply lay the scraper down on this is just a flat piece of scrap wood. It's a hardwood. And I'll just lay the scraper down. And then I use one of these cabinet scraper sharpening tools. And I just draw it along the edge like that a few times. And then there's a slot in here which I place onto the edge of the scraper. And then I draw it. And that curves the hook up or curves it out. So it's a very, very tiny hook, and you can just barely feel it. These kind of scrapers are a little bit more of a challenge to sharpen, but you can do it with, I oftentimes will just use a screwdriver, and I'll just kind of work along like that, and then like that, and then you can start to feel the edge forming. And it doesn't have to be much of an edge, it's barely there, and it's enough to do the job. Now there's a couple of ways that you can use the scraper, but typically what you'll do is you'll bend it slightly, placing your thumbs in the center, your fingers on the outside, and then you'll just sort of curve it into a bend. That makes it scrape more efficiently. And the angle and how hard you press is what is going to determine how much wood you're taking off. But what you end up with is a surface that's smoother than anything you can really get with sandpaper. I mean, you could probably get this smooth if you were to work up to, say, 2,000 to 3,000 grit. But with the cabinet scraper, you can stop sanding at 150 grit, grab your scraper, and get an absolutely amazing finish. But where scrapers really shine is when you're using figured wood like this piece of flamed maple. Now I don't know if you can actually see the figure in this piece of maple, but when you use a cabinet scraper on flamed maple, what you're doing is on the hard face grain, you're bringing it up to a shine, and the stripes of open grain is, it doesn't have the shine. It's more of a dull, flat sheen. And as a result, you get a more intense 3D effect when you use a scraper than you do when you use sandpaper. So if you're looking for the ultimate surface finish to the wood before you apply your finish, I highly recommend that you try a cabinet scraper. And it's going to take a little bit of practice, so you might want to grab some scrap wood. But once you get a feel for it, it's pretty quick. And another trick to using a scraper is it's a simple tool that I made using some scrap wood, a T-nut, a knob with I think it's a 1/4 screw, and a couple of wood screws. And the way it works is I just simply slide the scraper down against the face of it. It's a little tricky to use, but Once I get it down here, I can then tighten the screws. And these are just wood screws with washers. And that holds the scraper blade in place. And then I can tighten this knob, and that induces that bow that we need into the scraper. And then I can just scrape all day long. And you'll start out at the center, and then you just kind of work your way to the outer edge of the scraper. And then you'll start to feel as it loses that hook edge, and then you just go back and draw that out again, and you're good to go. So that's the tip for this week. Take care, and we will see you soon.